Longhorn fans, Sooner Nation, welcome to episode 119 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Texas and the University of Oklahoma. I'm here with my man, Kevin Miller. I am John Whitson. Kevin, apparently Mike Gundy is perfectly fine with Ollie Gordon driving under the influence of alcohol. Apparently, Mike Gundy sees no problem with being pulled over and arrested and driving above the legal limit as long as his player that he's referring to is a potential Heisman candidate. Apparently, it is the month of July, and Gundy is primed to say something stupid, and he has. Kevin, when are coaches going to learn to not, if they don't have something smart to say, don't say anything at all? This is the dumbest. He's an idiot, and it just drives me nuts.
Yeah, well, first of all, Gundy, he always says dumb things. But this is different. This is different, right? First of all, I like Ollie Gordon. Since he was a recruit.
You're a big Ollie Gordon fan. You love Ollie Gordon.
Here's the thing.
Whatever.
Here's the thing. I understand you're mad about last year. I get it.
No. Well, first of all, Ollie Gordon isn't the one that held Drake Stoops in the end zone, and Ollie Gordon isn't the one that didn't throw the flag. And Oklahoma actually defended him pretty well, not nearly as well as Texas did in the Big 12 championship. I will give you that. Ollie Gordon's a fine player. Ollie Gordon has a DUI. It is so simple. We've suspended him for a game. This behavior is unacceptable, and we're not going to tolerate it at the University of Oklahoma State.
That's what's weird about it. The defending of it.
What's that?
The defending of it. The justification of it. It's bizarre, man. Especially given the fact that the NFL just had a rookie who died in a drunk driving accident.
Oh,
what are we talking about here? So in a way, it's kind of a slap in the face of anybody who's lost somebody due to drunk driving.
It's such an easy take or such an easy statement to condemn. It's the easiest thing in the world. You don't have to berate the kid. You don't have to ostracize the kid. You can talk about the fact that you support him as a person, but DUI is wrong.
Yeah,
not a hard thing to say.
Make better decisions. Yeah,
make better decisions. DUI is wrong, and we're suspending you. And we're suspending you a game against whatever.
And even if they don't suspend him, right? You can't just. But yeah, it happens. These things. I've done it 1,000 times, probably driving bus. Like, dude, what are you talking about?
That's exactly right. I've done it 1,000 times. Can somebody please investigate that statement? Look, it's 2024. These comments weren't cool in 2004 or 94. This isn't like the times have passed him by. It's not cool to drink and drive. It never has been. To admit to have done it, which I know he's probably being hyperbolic 1,000 times, is stupid. It's just, he says stupid things, and he just gets away with it. And the reason he gets away with it is very simple, because Oklahoma State knows they can't get anybody better.
He's untouchable.
He's
absolutely untouchable.
He's untouchable. They know they can't get anybody better. They know that if they were to ever part ways with him, or he was to leave, or whatever, that it would become a program very much like their basketball team that at best would be a stepping stone program a la Les Miles. Like the best years of the program for Oklahoma State, if Gundy was to leave, is for a coach to come in and have a really good 3-year run and leave for an SEC or Big Ten job.
Correct.
And so
he's untouchable. He can do whatever he wants. He can say whatever he wants. Yeah. He's the Teflon Don.
I remember it was I guess it was 2020 when he was watching the OAN news.
Yes.
And he was ostracizing his players, and then he wouldn't even call players back when they had problems, and it was like an entire thing. I don't know. I just don't like the guy. And it doesn't have anything to do with Oklahoma State. He's arrogant. He says weird things. he's gotten to Oklahoma State to a pretty good program, like a really good program, I think.
Yeah,
Top,
they are. They're a good
top
program.
30 program every year.
Uh-huh.
But I think it's okay that we don't like the guy. And I think it's stuff like
they've overachieved with him. He's overachieved what you would expect at Oklahoma State.
Well, he's really overachieved based on his recruiting.
Oh, for sure.
His recruiting's terrible. Can Ollie Gordon win the Heisman?
I don't know, man. I mean, he's good enough to. It's just hard to picture an Oklahoma State player winning the Heisman.
Barry Sanders, 1988.
Oh, that's.
Can
you put up those kind of numbers?
I was about to say, took the greatest season of all time by any running back ever.
Had anything really close to that sense.
I'm with you. I don't know if a running back in the Big 12 can win it. To your point, I think they would have to have a really good season in the Big 12. And
which they can do.
They can. Still think it's Utah's, it is Big 12 Media Days. This is where he said it, right? It was Big 12 Media Days.
Correct.
God, thank God we're out of that trash conference, right? Holy crap. What a joke of a conference. I guess
with that being said, though, I'm actually excited about the football in this conference in the Big 12. I like the balance of the league.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Like I got excited about MAC games in the early 2000s.
Yeah, I'm glad we're out of it. I'm glad we're out of it. But it's going to be a fun conference to watch. I think they're going to have a lot of fun games.
Somebody put out a Twitter poll. Is like, are you going to watch more or less Big 12 games, or the same amount? Or the last answer was, are these games on Friday? ? And that's the one I picked, because if the games were on Thursday or Friday, I'd watch a ton of Big 12 games. Saturday, I'll tell you what, man, I am tuned into
So you're all SEC. You're going to be watching, Ole Miss and Florida, and those type of games.
Dude, back in the day, we would turn on. Remember, like whatever crazy channel that was that showed like Jefferson Pilot games. Do you remember this? Uh-huh. And it would be the 11 a.m. kickoff for SEC games, and it was like totally grainy and crappy, and it would be Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, and stuff like that. Yeah, I turned in to watch those
LSU in Kentucky.
Yeah. Yes, I turned in to watch those. So now that we're in the conference, I'm watching it. SEC, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I'm all over it too, man. But you know me, I love college football so much, so I'll be paying attention to what goes on in that conference. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. But I am very glad that we have moved on to bigger Oklahoma.
Speaking of media days, and we're going to talk more about this next week when we do our next week's episode. But the SEC media days are coming up July 15th to the 18th. Oklahoma is sending Jackson freaking Arnold, Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman. The University of Texas, Quinn Ewers, Kelvin Banks, and Jahdae Barron. Did they leave anybody out, or are these exactly the three that Texas fan wants to hear from?
Yeah, these are the ones that they should be bringing. I mean, they're the best players on the team, the best leaders on the team. So, yeah, I don't feel like they left anybody out. What about for the Sooners?
Well, real quick, let me start. I want to ask a couple questions about this Texas contingent. First things first, is Kelvin Banks the best player on your entire roster?
Probably, yeah.
Is Quinn Ewers the second best quarterback on your roster?
I don't know. I haven't seen enough from March yet to be able to answer that question. So,
not definitive. Not definitive, Kevin. There was a little pause there.
I believe in the quarterback room. Play. No, I'm in no rush to see Arch play, unless we're blowing the crap out of a team. Then, he can come in. But nah. Just like the Mannings aren't in a hurry.
No, they're not. We talked about this, and we'll talk about Bronny some more here, the contrast and the difference between the way those two situations are being handled. But back to the Quinn Ewers, I don't think he can win a Heisman. I don't think he can put the numbers up. I think at this point he is what he is, which is a very good college quarterback. Capable last year of getting into the playoff. I think capable of a 10-win season in the SEC. I think he's a good quarterback, but I don't think he is a Heisman contender. Do you think that he can make the jump from good to great this year? And if so, in what facet of the game is it that actually pushes him to that next level?
Okay, to answer your question, I do think he can do that. I think he can go from good to great. Just the trajectory that he's been on. If you look at him from his first year as a starter to last year, it was vast improvement. If he can keep that up, right? I think a lot of this depends on him. I don't know the kind of work that he's been putting in. I don't know how serious he is about improving his game, right? But I'm trusting the process with him and Sarkisian together. I feel like he'll go up a notch. Now, how good that means he becomes, does he become a Heisman guy? I don't know. I think that really depends on. I think he'll naturally find himself in the Heisman race if Texas has a great season, because that's just how it goes, right? Big name school has a big names, big time season. If he's your best player, your marquee player, you just end up there, regardless of the actual numbers that you put up. So we'll see. I hope he's putting in the work, because he's got all the talent in the world. Some things he needs to clean up. His mechanics, we've talked about that since his freshman year. He doesn't step into his throws a lot. He has a tendency to throw off balance, throw across his body when he has the time to actually set his feet and use. He can get more out of the arm talent that he has if he improved his mechanics.
He was 69% completion percentage last year. He had only 6 interceptions, but against only 22 touchdowns. I'm looking at total number of completions, doesn't really have an average. What I'm looking at doesn't necessarily have an average.
You talking about like a completions per game type deal?
Yeah, either completions per game or like an average. I'm looking for like a average yards.
Okay, like yards per game.
Yeah, I don't really like this website. Anyway, my point is, it's 69%. I think to make the jump, okay, for him, it's got to be in the touchdown numbers.
Yeah.
Because his touchdown numbers are not earth-shattering. 25 and 6 is pretty good, but not. It's not like you think about the list of quarterbacks that have won the Heisman, right? It's not Caleb Williams or Kyler or Joe Burrow, Baker's numbers, or anything like that, right? He's not in that echelon. So
yeah.
I think if the touchdown numbers could go up, he gets into those mid-30s. That's a big jump, man. He did make a big jump in completion percentage year over year, from like 56 to 69. So that does show pretty, but he's losing a bunch of receivers. I still think Quinn is just a very interesting, fascinating story to watch, because I just don't know. I don't know.
It's not 100. It's not 100% with him yet, but I still think he's developing. I'm just trusting the trajectory.
John Day Barron, best defensive player, without a doubt.
He's the most experienced guy. He plays a nickel position.
Okay.
Yeah. So he does a lot. He stops the run. He's pretty good against the pass. He can get beaten coverage at times. But he's really good at, stopping the run, making big plays. He's a guy, we're glad he came back, just to give us some more experience back there. I mean, the most talented player on the defense is Anthony Hill.
Yeah.
The linebacker. He was a true freshman last year. We're talking about a 5-star guy here.
Yeah. You think it's still, I guess, SEC media days? Well, I don't know. Arnold's a redshirt freshman, so I don't know that that's the end of the world. Maybe it's just a shout out to Barrett and coming back and things like that.
He's a really good player. I'm excited that he's back. I'm really excited. There are some guys that we lost that I was not disappointed about at all, them leaving, because I think we'll be more talented in the secondary this year than we were last year. We had some experience back there, but the guys we're losing, I like the guys that we're bringing up more. Yeah. The younger guys are more talented.
Oklahoma bringing Jackson Arnold, Danny Stutson, and Billy Bowman.
I'm still surprised that, I know I say this every time, but I'm just surprised that Billy Bowman is not getting ready for NFL training camp this year right now.
and I have no insight to this beyond just my own. I think they unloaded on NIL on them. I really do. I think that
Well,
they're,
good for you
yeah.
guys.
The vibe I'm getting from Oklahoma, and the reason I think it speaks to not losing a bunch of these transfer guys is recognizing work, where they're at and what they're contributing, and not basing it on potential like we talk about with true freshmen or high school recruits. I hope that's what they did, because I think he deserves it. He's got a chance to be the best safety in the country, Kevin. He had, I mean, what do you have? 3 interception returns for touchdowns last year.
Playmaker, man.
He's a playmaker, a ball hawk. He hits. He's athletic. He can cover. I mean, the guy's just really, really good. And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when saying he could be the best safety in the SEC. Be the best safety in the SEC. Let that sink in. Let that sink. On year one, Oklahoma could be coming in with the best safety in the SEC. That's a fascinating statement that would not have been the case under Lincoln Riley.
Oh,
And
no,
maybe
not
even the back end, and maybe in the back end of Bob Stoops' career.
No, I
honestly,
agree. I agree. I mean, once the last true impact safety?
we talked
Yeah,
about that. Nick Harris, maybe,
a long 15 years ago, man. That's a long time ago.
right?
Yeah,
Tony Jefferson
yeah.
played
He was
in the
good.
league a lot.
Yeah, he
Uh,
was really good.
but Bowman is
They're different
Bowman.
types of safeties, but yeah,
Bowman is in the safety lore at Oklahoma with Roy Williams.
really.
I think,
I,
yeah, I think so.
okay. I mean,
I
that
mean,
name. I mean,
Roy Williams had the benefit of winning a national championship, but in terms of, I think, in terms of playmaking ability and talent, I think Billy Bowman's right there with him. I really,
yeah,
really
the
do.
talent for sure. I mean, it just Roy, man, he can just literally take games over.
No,
He,
that's true. That's true. Golly, the
you
last.
know,
Oh, well,
and his
hey, you
versatility.
were there, Kevin. Tell
I
us
was
about it
there.
again.
Yeah, I was
Tell
there. I
us
was
about
there.
it again, Kevin.
Of course, you guys like to mention it. The 3 back-to-back plays against Texas.
They were unbelievable.
Hmm.
They were
Yeah,
unbelievable. But and then you got Stutzman, which I think Stutzman just represents where we want to be. I like that there's 2 defensive players. I think it's fascinating that that's the strength of our team right now. Just the transition we've continued to make. And then Arnold's got to prove himself. I mean, all these preseason quarterback lists. I think the highest I've seen Arnold ranked in the SEC is like 8th,
okay.
and the average tends to be like 10 or 11th. Um, that in and of itself is crazy when you think about it for an Oklahoma quarterback.
Yeah. We just have to play. No one knows. We've seen flashes, right? But he started one game. It was a bowl game, which
Yeah,
he did some things that made you say wow, and some things are like ooh,
yeah, yeah.
right? And I think honestly, I think that's how the season will probably go for him. He's going to make some plays that are going to be something that we've never seen before, or things that are going to kind of remind you of a Kyler Murray type deal. And he's going to make some bad plays too. Same thing we saw from Quinn Ewers. This is how it is with young quarterbacks.
Yeah,
You see flashes of greatness and flashes of inexperience.
I don't know. I hope they go big with him. I hope they take the reins off of him and let him learn early. If the season really is lined out to be 8-4, 9-3, whatever the case may be, let him learn. Let him
Oh,
learn with that.
sure. I mean,
Let him learn with that deep
you're
ball. Let him learn with that stuff.
like you bank on talent, right? I mean, you could have had Dylan Gabriel back. You could have, right?
Yeah, I think
But you
so.
chose to go with the young talent, and I'm fine with that. You go with the young talent. See,
I still don't know if I am.
you,
I still don't know if I
no,
am.
I mean,
You
I
talk about guys
understand
that
you.
are going to win the Heisman this year. Dylan Gabriel could win the Heisman at Oregon.
He could, he could.
And
But
if that's the case, is that a good pick? Like I don't know. That's hard to
and again,
fathom.
but this is modern college football, though, right? Do you stick with Dylan Gabriel, who has the experience, and that experience won you the game in the Cotton Bowl last year? His experience is the reason why you won that football game.
100%.
Or do you risk Jackson Arnold saying, I don't want to be on the bench for 2 years, I'm out. And I think you figured you'd rather have you know, you'd rather have the young talent over potentially losing a 5-star quarterback.
I know it is fascinating too, because if you think about it, this is also a third-year defense under Brent Venables with Billy Bowman, Stutzman, Kip Lewis, Jason McCullough, Peyton Bowen, Woody Washington, Gentry Williams. So you've got the studs on the defensive side, and you just hope the offense can match that. And you think, well, God, with Gabriel, I think they probably could, And so I don't know. That's going to be.
Yeah.
I do think
it's a dilemma. This is modern college football, though, right? You're balancing the roster.
I do think our running backs will be better. We don't talk a ton about running backs, but I do think that that's going to help Jackson Arnold more than we're going to give him credit. Is Gabriel largely played the entire last year with a hurt Gavin Sawchuk until midway through the season. Hurt Javonte Barnes pretty much the whole season. So they say. He sure did look hurt. And then a Tawi Walker who was in and out of the lineup for periods of games. So if we can have like a
situation there, by the way,
the Tawi Walker one,
yeah, just the suspension and just, it makes sense that he's gone.
It makes sense that he's gone, but going to Wisconsin tells you he's a pretty good player. Like,
correct. Yeah, that's what makes it weird.
Yeah, that's not a chump place for a running back to go play. It's not like he transferred to San Diego State or Rice or something. No, he went to Wisconsin.
That's what makes it weird because, So, yeah, I mean, and I'm hearing things about the Tatum kid, that he's the real deal, which wouldn't be surprising. He's a high 4-star, borderline 5-star running back. So what do you think? Is Sawchuk the guy, or is it going to be a rotation, or is Tatum going to be the guy?
If you get if you have the Sawchuk that played in the second half of last year, Sawchuk's your guy. I think in the last 6 games he ran for like 800 yards or something crazy like that. So Sawchuk's your guy if he's healthy and ready to roll and looks like that. I think the bigger question is going to be who's that second back off the bench. I did not like what I saw from Barnes last year. Again, all indications were he was hurt, but it just wasn't good. His yards per carry weren't good. He didn't seem to hit the hole hard. Didn't have any breakaway speed. Couldn't catch the ball out of the backfield. Just nothing you saw from Barnes was positive. And so if Tatum gives you that home run ability as the second back, listen, dude, you can't afford to put a true freshman on the bench. Well, you saw it with you see it at Texas all the time. You can't afford to put a red shirt. You have to put true freshmen on the field.
Yeah,
running back if they can make plays.
Just put them out there.
They have to.
Yeah.
If they're any good, they're gone in 3 years. If they're any good at all, they're gone in 3 years. And
it's again one of our criticisms of Tom Herman is his reluctance to start Bijan Robinson at running back. And it was clear that this dude is the most talented player on the entire football team. And
he was
2020.
Bijan Robinson was good.
Yeah, I mean, guys, it's a top 10 pick. What are we talking about?
Transitioning to future Sooners and future Longhorns, the University of Texas, I don't know what the word it would be to describe what y'all are experiencing in recruiting right now. I don't, death spiral comes to mind, Kevin. Just a
bit of a reach there.
Complete and total lack of institutional control when it comes to how to administer NIL to potential recruits. Lamborghinis misfiring. You wonder if their engines were even in there when they were showing them to these recruits, because in the past 2 weeks, you've lost DeCorion Moore to Oregon, 5-star receiver, Riley Pettijohn, linebacker to Ohio State, and Zion Williams, not the basketball player, defensive tackle to LSU. As of this episode on July 10th in the early afternoon, you have 0 of the top 10 recruits in the state of Texas committed to Texas. You have picked up, since our last podcast, Smith Orogbo out of Houston, Alif Hastings, 4-star edge, and Cade Phillips out of Hightower, Missouri City, Texas, a 4-star safety. But Kevin, you're ranked 22nd on 247. You've lost disastrous recruits because of your inability to pay NIL. How is Texas, and okay, so maybe a little bit of that's hyperbolic, but in all seriousness, how are you failing to capitalize on some of these recruits when A, you're going to the SEC, B, you're following it up with a college football playoff? One of these guys should have landed for y'all. One of these guys should have landed.
This is big, welcome to big boy recruiting. You know, that's what this is. We've talked about this before, right? When it comes to recruiting against the big boys, you're going to have wins and you're going to have losses. Now, listen, I really wanted DeCorian Moore, and I thought we were going to get DeCorian Moore, right? But he ends up choosing Oregon. I don't know. Maybe they came out with a crazy NIL deal. I've heard some numbers out there. I don't know if it's true. Heard up to $1.3 million for DeCorian Moore. Again, was Texas willing to match that? I don't know. Again, we talked about this. There are a lot of good receivers this year, but he's the best. I think he's the best receiver in the country. So it would have been great to have him. But honestly, I'm more upset about losing Pettijohn because it's just rare to find linebackers like that. You know, there's way more good receivers than good linebackers. And he was a guy who was looked at as a Texas lean, but then over the last 2 weeks of his recruitment, you know, just kind of fell off. I don't know exactly what happened. I'm also hearing, though, that these recruitments are not over. We'll see what happens as we get later into the fall. So we'll see. But either way, it's disappointing to not land either one of those guys when it seemed like you were the leader for them for a while, especially with Moore, seeing that he did his official visit a couple of weeks ago, brought his whole family. It seemed like it was pretty much a done deal there. So
the Zion Williams kid, the defensive tackle going to LSU, is this the most noticeable casualty since losing Bo Davis at the defensive line coaching position?
Well, here's the thing, right? We had another commitment, Brandon Brown, who we pretty much knew was going to leave because he had committed to Texas. He had such a good relationship with Bo Davis. He committed to Texas before he even visited, right? And then a few weeks later, he takes the LSU job. So his recruitment had kind of been on life support since then. He finally decommitted and flipped to LSU, which, again, we totally expected. So really those two are the biggest casualties since losing Bo Davis. So we'll see, man. The defensive tackle position it's always a difficult position for Texas to recruit for whatever reason. They haven't had a 5-star defensive tackle. I mean, Alfred Collins, I think one service had him as a 5-star when he was coming up. But really Malcolm Brown, the defensive tackle out of Brenham in the 2010 or so, around there. He was the last guy that we've had that was a true 5-star defensive tackle. The guys that we've had that have been good, Hassan Ridgeway and of course Savondre Sweat and Byron Murphy last year, those are guys that really 3-star guys that just got developed well.
I think the biggest thing impacting your numbers is not the quality of your class. But it's the number of commits. You only have 13 commits at this point. Are there other, I mean, clearly there are, but on your radar, are there other big targets that Texas is after that you're expecting this number to slowly get, push back up? Texas was slow last year to react and ended obviously in a very good spot. So, I mean, it's probably not a death spiral, but back to real quick. Let's answer that first, because then I want to come back to the NIL.
Well, really, the biggest one is Michael Fasusi, right? Offensive lineman. He's out of Louisville in the Dallas area, right? 5-star offensive tackle. But again, we're battling with the Oklahoma Sooners with him and also Texas A&M. So that's the thing, you get into these battles with these elite prospects, it's going to be a fight down to the end. So we'll see what happens. I want to say he picked Texas, but these things change and they seem to change quickly nowadays.
So back to the NIL deal, you talk about not wanting to get, and it's really hard when you think about Oregon as a prime example, not wanting to get in an arms race with Oregon, or a money race, because it seems like their coffers are just limitless. But this is Texas we're talking about, okay?
Yeah.
This is probably the most primed athletic program in the country for NIL. Like, everything indicates that Texas would be am I, and maybe what I'm saying is, am I giving Sark a little bit of credit where he's kind of drawn a line that says, I am not going to pay for potential. Like I'm going to pay the guys that the Jade Barons and Kelvin Banks and the Quinn Ewers, like those guys are going to get paid and we'll just continue to back build. Or is
Well,
this,
that's the thing, you're right.
or is this he doesn't want to pay, or he just doesn't want to pay these kids?
I don't know. You have to find a balance, right? Because I think the concern with a lot of coaches is, and I think most coaches feel this way, at least a lot of them do, is that if you start paying the recruits, it could, screw up the chemistry in the locker room with the guys that you already have, right? So you have to figure out something to where you can take care of everybody, because you got to be recruiting in schools like Oregon and Miami. We've seen that with them lately too. Like they're spending for these guys.
Just
So
silly.
how bad do you want them? Yeah.
Yeah.
How bad do you want them? They're there and they'll come, but so it's just an interesting time.
I mean, when you look at the landscape, though, Oregon is really the only one of these NIL behemoths that have converted it to wins on the field. I mean, A&M has just been, listen, they're terrible. Okay, and Elko isn't going to make them any better. I don't care what Josh Pate says. They're going to be terrible. Miami, I don't trust Miami. Not over Florida State or even Clemson at this point. They'll go 8-4 again. So, but Oregon, on the other hand, golly man, they've turned it into wins. Now it's going to be really, really intriguing with them in the Big Ten, because that is not the style of football that they've played. But I think the notion that Oregon can't play big boy football is probably false, right? I mean, some big dudes.
We saw that last year, man, with Dan Lanning, the way that they play. I mean, they were one of the best teams in the country last year. Unfortunately, like us, they just couldn't beat Washington.
Yeah,
it shows how good they were, how good their coach was, Kalen DeBoer, excuse me, who's now at Alabama. So no, I think Oregon is here. I think they're here to stay. And I think they'll be in the mix for the college football playoff and for the national championship this year.
Yeah. Oklahoma, 8th in the country, 2025 recruiting on the 247 rankings. Just signed 4-star Omarion Robinson, a safety out of Little Rock. Some services have him at the 1 or 2 best player coming out of Arkansas. Oddly enough, Arkansas has not been a huge fertile recruiting ground for Oklahoma over the years. So this is kind of a rarity to be getting an Arkansas player, especially one this highly ranked. I don't know if that has to do with Arkansas. I don't think it's really Arkansas keeping him. I think this could be another SEC, hook.
Opening doors.
Yeah, opening doors. Contrary to Texas, though, this is our 21st commitment. So this is 8 more players than Texas has. 12 4-stars. The problem is, though, 8 sounds really good to me. 8, anything in the top 10 for me in recruiting, I'm typically okay with, because it doesn't take into account transfer portal, doesn't take into account development, doesn't take into account need necessarily. It's really a numbers game. So anything in the top 10 for me is typically just fine. However, we're in the SEC now, Kevin. I don't know if you knew this. Since July 1st, we've been in the SEC. We are fifth in the SEC on recruiting. So we're 8th in the country and 5th in our own conference. And that is so eye-opening, dude, to know that you can be just thinking you're having a hell of a year recruiting and look up and see 4 other schools ahead of you, 5-star recruits out the wazoo. It's nuts.
It's big time. It's big time in this conference. And the crazy thing, man, we're going after these guys. And for the most part, if we lose them, we're going to lose them to a team
it's really good
in our conference. Yeah, yes. And we're going to have to play against them.
Yes.
That's what's hard about that. It was like when Adrian Peterson committed to Oklahoma. It wasn't that he committed somewhere else, that we have to face him too. So that's the rough part about being in this conference. But hey, this is what we signed up for. This is what we're excited about, right? So we're going to definitely have to find ways to elevate and match what these other schools are doing.
Kevin, let's give Brown O'Haver a shout out. Brown O'Haver is our title sponsor on the Boomer Bevo podcast. Brown O'Haver is a public insurance adjusting firm. They work for the insured, not the insurance company. So if you had a loss to your home or your business, wind, theft, fire, tornado, vandalism, Kevin, we signed an interesting one. This is no joke. We signed a client down in like the Tuttle area, and they had a like a wind claim, like a roof claim or whatever. Okay, and then they were out of town, and somebody broke into their house. Are you ready for this? And left all the faucets on their house, like every faucet in their house, and stuffed the drain with rags. Does that remind you of anything? Does that remind you of anything?
I'm drawing a blank here, but
it's the Wet Bandits from Home Alone.
Oh my goodness.
They got wet bandited, okay? Joe Pesci was in their house, turning on all the water, stuffing everything up, and when they got back from their vacation, their entire house was flooded. Is that the most... Anyway, my point is they had to hire us. So they hired us for the wind, and then when they got back, they then hired us for the... And we do that. It's actually not a water loss. It's a vandalism loss. And that's how you're able to file the claim and make sure it gets paid. Anyway, my point is, if you've been attacked by the Wet Bandits, you want to give Brown O'Haver a call, 405-735-5510. They get more money for you than you get on your own, working for you, not the insurance company. 405-735-5510. Kevin, did you not get the Wet Bandits reference? Was that over your head? Are you not a Home Alone fan? Is that not on your top list of Christmas movies?
I mean, it's up there, but it's not anything I've watched since, 94 probably.
Wait. This might... I try not to broach topics of race on this, okay? I like to keep this at sports. But are you telling me Black people don't rewatch Christmas movies every year at Christmas time? Because white people watch the same Christmas movies every single year, all the time.
I don't know if it's a Black people thing. It's just a Kevin thing. Just me.
Does Casey?
She watches a few. Home Alone is not on there for her, though.
What?
Yeah. I'm not saying she doesn't like it, but I've never seen her rewatch it.
Kevin, you're going to have people dropping off this podcast, dude. They're not going to be able to stand it. They can't believe what they're hearing right now, that y'all hate Home Alone.
Y'all? I didn't say she hates
it. You and Casey hate Home Alone.
I hate it either. You know what? Maybe there might be some trauma there. When I was a kid, everybody was calling me Kevin in the same tone as Kevin McAllister's mom. Being the kid when that movie came out. So, yeah. I mean, it was nonstop.
That's okay. Now that's really funny. I didn't think about that.
That's probably where this came from.
That's probably fair. Probably fair. Yeah. Like Kevin. Yeah. That makes sense. Man, the Wet Bandits, though. I don't know what to tell you. Hey, I've got a little shout out. In memoriam thing. My Aunt Susan, Susan Whitson Rogers, Aunt Susan, passed away on July 6th. Yes, July 5th or 6th. But anyway, Kevin, do you have that person in your life that just took care of you all the time?
Oh, yeah.
That wasn't your parents, but they just took care of you. That was my Aunt Susan. She just took care of me. Took me to my first ever Oklahoma basketball game back when Skeeter Henry was playing in the Lloyd Noble. These were Billy Tubbs days. Fell in love with Oklahoma basketball. When I moved up here in 1996, she took me to my first Oklahoma football game. Unfortunately, that was a game against TCU, and John Blake was our coach, and I think we got destroyed, but I still remember it vividly and had an amazing time. She's given me over the years innumerable tickets to ball games. She was a donor and had football tickets and basketball tickets and girls basketball tickets. And it just never failed that, I was on the list to get called, and she was, obviously the relationship goes beyond that, but she took care of everybody in her family. She was an amazing, amazing woman. And we're going to miss her. 85 years old. Rest in peace. There you go. Susan Rogers.
Yeah. R.I.P.
That's what you do. That's what happens. Yeah. Well, yeah. I bring it up though because you got to have that person in your life. It's kind of like you've talked about, when you're introduced to things, and you're plugged into the culture of whatever it is. She's the person that plugged me into OU sports. I mean, my dad was a OU fan, but there's nothing that like There's nothing like actually going to the games though and
Yeah,
getting plugged in and part of the vibe and stuff. It's just crazy.
for sure, man. For sure. Huge loss.
Another huge loss, John said flippantly, was when the U.S. men's national team lost to Panama, and then again to Uruguay. Kevin, I tweeted this to you last week, but I have never seen a sports organization that continually makes bad decision after bad decision like the U.S. men's national soccer team. Now, you, my friend, are a big men's national team fan. I typically watch them when they're in big time competitions,
Tournaments.
Copa Cup, World Cup, stuff like that. So I count myself as a casual fan, but at the same time, I'm well aware of the stupidity that is this organization. Have you ever seen anything like how stupid men's soccer is right now in the United States?
No, the incompetence at the top of that organization right now is astonishing. I don't know what they're trying to do. They fired Berhalter after the controversy came out with the domestic violence allegation from the early 90s. They then only to rehire him when they were really good coaches that were available. It seems like we're wasting time. We're hosting the World Cup, which is going to be one of the biggest sporting events in the history of our country in 2026, and we don't seem prepared for it at all. I don't like the way the team is playing. I don't see any real confidence. I don't see any real toughness or grit in this team, which is something that we have from our past teams that we criticize for not being talented enough. At least they played hard and fought against everybody. I'm not seeing that from this team. So yeah, right now I'm very concerned, and changes need to be made throughout the entire structure of the organization.
It's utter incompetence. You said it right. It's utter incompetence from the top down. Here's the deal. Okay, this is not a unique take. Okay, this isn't like John's unique. This is the take right now. This is the most talented group of soccer players we've had from a technical standpoint in the history of soccer in the country. They've had they've had more resources and commitment to their development than any other group of players in the same amount of time, right? As a nation, we have embraced soccer over the last 20 years, unlike anything previous. And it's affected how, the level of players we're putting out there. All these players play in Europe. This isn't like we got a bunch of homegrown players. These are all European players that are contributors on their team. These are not chumps. And Kevin, we're wasting them. We're wasting the best crop of soccer players to play for the men's national team. This is a generational thing, and it's being completely thrown down the toilet because for whatever reason, U.S. men's soccer has a hard-on for Greg Berhalter, and I don't understand it. You know what his overall win percentage as a head coach is? Just as a head coach, as a head manager, head guy or whatever, 43%. 43% win percentage. That's terrible. Okay. His since when he started in December 2018, went to December 2022, he did have a 60% win percentage then, and his contract expired, and they chose not to rehire him. And then they went through a quote unquote exhaustive search, only to bring him back in August 2023, where he now since then has only had a 50% win percentage. They failed to advance out of the group stage in the current Copa Cup, losses to Panama and Uruguay. They were lackluster in the World Cup. It's just disappointment after disappointment. And you watch other teams play the game. And again, I'm not a soccer guy. I watch a lot of soccer at the youth level. I understand how the game works, but I'm not a soccer guy. So I'm not pretending. But I can go watch a Euro Cup game, and I can watch Poland play Switzerland and see the dynamicism in their game, in their plan, in their attack, in their ball movement, in the way that the strategy for which they want to matriculate the ball down the field and into the goal is very clear and coherent from a novice. A novice is watching this, and I'm going, well, we got better athletes than these dudes. We have better athletes. Dude, we lost to Uruguay, okay? You know how many people live in Uruguay, Kevin? 3.4 million people. You know how many people live in the United States? 340 million people. We have I don't even know what the math is. 10,000% more people than they do, or whatever the number is. It's insane. It's insane. And we can't find 12 dudes to beat Uruguay at soccer. I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
And again, our guys are playing all over Europe, right? It's not like we got a team full of, scrubs, non-talented guys. They're just not being put in a position to be successful.
Well, look at Canada right now. Okay, so you got Canada playing, and you know what Canada's saying? This is no joke. Canada's going, well, look at us. All our guys are MLS guys. All our guys are MLS guys, and we made it out of the Copa Cup group stage. And the argument is somehow like maybe it doesn't matter that they play in Europe. And that is such a false narrative. You want your best players to play in Europe.
Yes.
The players on the United States are far better than the players in Canada. And yet they play as a team. They have a cohesive strategy. They work together. They've got a coach, I'll be from Wisconsin, America, coaching them and getting them through this. Dude, we can't beat Panama. Panama sucks, dude.
They do.
You understand Panama sucks, right?
Oh, yeah, they're horrible. And
Uruguay's pretty good, but Panama sucks.
They're very good. They've got great players that are playing all over the world. I mean, Uruguay's, But Jesse Marsch was available. Marsch got fired from Leeds United in the Premier League last year and was just sitting on his couch. We had the chance to hire him, and instead, we recycled Greg Berhalter. I don't understand it. Jesse Marsch knows the players that are on this team. He's coached several of them when he was in New York Red Bulls, when he went to Red Bull Leipzig in Germany, and then when he went to Leeds United. He's coached several players on that team. It had success. Those players have had the best success playing for him. And again, they chose to bring back Greg Berhalter, and it seems to have set us back tremendously. And again, we don't have time to mess around, right? Jurgen Klopp is available.
Dude, it is a World Cup. It is a World Cup. We're already in the run-up. We're in the run-up.
Yes. We're 2 years away.
It's going to be in the United States. You're never going to have a better opportunity. You're never going to have a better opportunity. And I'm not being hyperbolic. This is the freaking United States, and you're hosting the World Cup. And
yes,
frustrating.
Go get Jurgen Klopp. He's out there. He resigned from Liverpool. Right, the dude has won everything. He's won the Premier League multiple times. He won the freaking Champions League. Go get him. He's there.
Do you feel like that? This isn't that men's, the U.S. soccer, the organization that is U.S. soccer that oversees the men's national team and the women's national team, specifically on the men's side. Do you feel like they, as a organization, and let's call it a boys club, if you will, or whatever, that they resent the fact that soccer has become mainstream in the United States? That it was their little baby, that they were the only ones that cared. They were the true believers. They were the protectors of the game. And we want to grow the game, but we really don't want to grow the game. We want to keep it within our little control. But now it's escaped. It's mainstream now. People like me, you, guys that didn't grow up playing soccer, that didn't grow up watching soccer, we're in it now. Like, this is, my daughters watch it. My wife watches it. Like, it's a thing. But they don't want to let go. Do you get that vibe? They just don't want to let go of
I never thought about that, but there could be some gatekeeping there.
And gatekeeping. Thank you. That's the right word. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But, I mean, from that group, it wouldn't be surprising.
No.
Honestly, I don't know what their goal is right now. That's what it looks like.
It's not to win soccer games.
Yeah. You know how you see, it's like sometimes you see this with sports teams, right? Like, you can see, like, I don't think they're really trying to win. Right, you can see that they're trying to just make money off. I don't know what their goals are, because at least with the women's, at least they've been, they've shown some ambition. They went out and got the best coach available.
Well, and I'll tell you what, on the women's side, I don't know how many games she's coached. 4, maybe. She's only coached a handful of games already. The wave she's making. Alex Morgan, not on the Olympic team. No. Okay, that's huge.
Uh-huh.
And I love Alex Morgan, I really do. I think she has been obviously, this is not a great player for the United States for a very long time. But dude, she played in the 2011 World Cup.
Yes.
You know how many miles are on her legs?
Right.
Great legs, by the way. But how many miles are on her legs? Like a lot, dude. It's ton. And so the casual fan will say, "Oh, I mean, can you believe they didn't put like Alex Morgan on it?" Well, yeah, because your other forwards are Sophia Smith, Mallory Swanson, Macario, and Trinity Rodman. Like,
Correct.
yeah,
These
this
are
is
better
a
players
no-brainer.
right now.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. What are we talking about? However, I'll tell you, regimes in the past would have kept Alex Morgan on,
Yeah.
just like they did Rapinoe in the World Cup and things of that nature, because it's more politically expedient. It's relationships. Well, we need the experience. You don't need the experience. You need the best 18 girls in this case, or 18 guys to go play soccer. However, that's that. Then, when you watch their style of soccer, you do not have to be a genius to see that this lady, her name's escaping me, Emma, what's her name, Kevin? I forgot her name. It's Emma something, right? Look it up real
Yeah.
quick.
I
You
will.
can watch it. You can watch it and see that it's attacking, that they're playing through balls, that they're not just content with possession. You want to talk about strategy, and I know we've gone a little long on this segment for our Boomer Bevo podcast, but that's all right. Greg Berhalter is all about the simple pass. You heard Clint Dempsey talk about it. And listen, I hear that a lot in youth soccer. Play simple, play simple, play simple. Oh, okay, that's great. These are the best players in the world. Like, somebody's got to go make a play.
Yeah, be creative.
Go make a play. Go.
Yeah.
Somebody attack. Somebody send a ball across. Somebody make the run. Somebody do whatever it is you're supposed to do as a soccer player. Berhalter plays, play it back.
Emma Hayes, by the way.
Emma Hayes, thank you. I'm sorry, Emma. You're doing a hell of a job. I think she's going to win gold. I think that they're really well positioned. The men don't even necessarily. It's got to be 23 and under for the Olympics. Is that right?
Yeah, I think you're allowed to bring 2 or 3 older players though.
Yeah, but they don't typically bring anybody. Nobody really ever brings their big guns, do they?
It's rare. It's rare to see that.
Who's going to win? Who's going to win the Copa Cup and who's going to win the Euro Cup, and then we'll move on.
Okay, I think for the Copa, I think Argentina's going to win. I just think they're the best team.
Yep.
I would like to see an Argentina-Uruguay final, though. I think that would be a lot of fun. And with the Euros, I don't know. I mean, England and the Netherlands are playing right now, so we can catch the end of that. I'm not sure who's winning that, but I like Spain, man. They've been playing really well. They knocked out France yesterday in the semifinal.
1-1 in the 1-1 in the 57th minute.
Okay.
1-1 in the 50. Netherlands. Netherlands.
I like Spain though. I love the way they've been playing. They got the Lamine Yamal kid who's 16, who scored a goal yesterday in the semifinal. He turned 17 on Saturday.
He put a left foot on that ball and it went top left corner. And
Yeah.
there's not a goalie in the world that's touching that. My gosh, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
The picture with
a good France team.
The picture with Messi is a little weird though, right? You'll agree. Where he's like holding the baby. Have you seen this?
Yeah, so that is a real picture. I did see it.
Well, I think is it not real? Is there rumors it's not real?
No, I haven't heard anything. I just thought it was weird. Like, how did that happen? I have questions. I didn't know the context of it. So that's why I didn't comment. I didn't say anything about it. I'm like, I need way more context here.
Oh, it's so weird, man.
I understand that he's from Barcelona. He's, but yeah. I don't know what to think about that.
Okay, here's a couple notes about England real quick. Personal observation. They seem to be hanging on. But teams that hang on sometimes can just keep building confidence. Like these teams that just get tested and tested and tested, and they're like a roach that won't die. That's what I feel like is happening to England right now. But I will tell you, my daughters play soccer for an Englishman, and actually the golf coach for the Norman North Middle School girls is an Englishman. And so I've been texting both of them during this run, and I don't know if they know each other. I don't think every English person knows each other, but separately, they both said the same thing, which is England actually sucks. We suck right now. We don't know how we're winning, but we keep winning. So
yeah. Well, Jude Bellingham always gives you a chance. So
I love it. I don't know, man. Well, no, it's Copa Cup where they don't play the extra time, right? They go straight to kids.
Yeah, which is bizarre.
Play the extra time, guys. Come on, give us more soccer, not less.
Yeah.
All right. That was a lot of soccer talk, but I loved it. And can we please fire Greg Berhalter? Oklahoma City Thunder, quick update on roster changes there. What do you think about the pickup of Isaiah Hartenstein out of from the New York Knicks? Are you fired up about this guy?
Yeah, I think it's great, man. I mean, they need another big. They need more rebounding. And I feel like he's versatile, right? He can come in. I think he can play with Chet. He can play the five, and Chet can kind of roam around the court defensively and block shots like he does. Also, I think he can come in and be the center for the second unit when Chet is off of the court, too. I think they relied on him a little bit too much to do some of the dirty work. And right now, he's just not physically capable enough to do it all the time. We all know he has the right mindset and he's going to get stronger. But right now, at this current stage of his physical development, I don't want him in there banging too much, right? Because I don't want him to get injured. Having Hardesty take some of that load off of Chet. And again, I think he's a really good passer for being a center. And I think he'll fit in with the team.
Well, he seems to fit in with Oklahoma City already really well. He's got a great presence on social media, and people seem to really like him. To your point, it's not so much the effect on the defensive end when you talk about banging, although there is that, but it's what that does on the offensive end, right? You get beat up so much, you start to lose energy on the offensive end, and that's not where we want him losing energy, right? I mean, he's a very effective offensive player for us, very effective, more so than I even thought he would be. Chet, I'm talking about. And so, yeah, if Hardenstein can just take more of that beating on the defensive end, 100%. I think it's great. What do you think about Caruso in the trade for Josh Giddey? Is this the right move?
Yeah, I think it's a great move as well, right? A lot of people were out on Giddey. I still kind of like Giddey, I think, but he didn't fit in with this group. He needs to have the ball in his hands. I think he's a really, really good playmaker. He was the best passer on the team last year by a wide margin. But again, he's at his best when he has the ball. He can operate that. It's not going to happen with Shea because Shea is one of the best guys on the ball in the entire NBA, right? So
And even
they
when
want to,
even when Shea was off ball, it was a lot of to J Dub, wasn't it?
yeah, correct.
I mean, J Dub was more their backup point guard, their secondary ball handler, even
Yeah,
more than Giddey was, really, and so
correct. So he's just less effective when he's off the ball.
is Caruso a better defender?
Oh yeah, he's one of the best in the league. He was second team on defense last year.
Oh wow. Okay, so you got
Yeah,
Dort. Now you've added. So you still have Dort. We haven't lost him, right? We got Dort, Case, and Wallace, and now we're adding Caruso, a second team all.
yeah. We're talking about the top two. I mean, the defensive backcourt is going to be ridiculous, right? I mean, you got Shea, who's a really good defensive player, and then of course you got Lou Dort, and then you bring in Caruso. So you can at some point they're going to have all three of those guys on the court at the same time, or you can even have Case and Wallace, Dort, and Caruso on the court at the same time. And good luck scoring from any of your guards scoring on those guys. It's going to be incredibly difficult to score against the Thunder, period, especially when you have Hardenstein and Chet out there at power forward and center potentially.
The makeup of this team just keeps getting better and better. Caruso better shooter than Giddey.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, he's at 38% from three.
I know you like. I know what you're talking about with Giddey, and he's got some of that old throwback, right? That old throwback basketball feel,
He's like
driving and vision.
I'm not saying he's Magic Johnson.
No,
I'm not
but
saying that. But he's that kind of style.
Yeah, which you don't necessarily. So when you see it, it kind of like, oh, that's cool. But do better defense, better three-point shooting. You've got a Thunder team that already led the league in three-point shooting. Now you're adding another shooter. You had Lou Dort and Case and Wallace, who we loved as lockdown defenders. Now you're adding a Caruso, just another body. You think about teams you have to beat in the West. Look at Dallas, right? They beat you. Now you're throwing another body at Luka. Again, you might not be stopping him down, but Lou Dort got in foul trouble. That is probably one of the biggest contributors to us losing to Dallas was the foul trouble that Dort got in. You just added 6 more fouls to somebody so now you're up to 6 times. You're up to 18 fouls that can guard Luka.
Correct.
And so dude, Presti's good, bro. Like we weren't excited about his draft, right? I mean, were you excited about the draft?
I mean, Topic, we'll see. I think he's a talented playmaker, but I mean, he's not going to play this year. He's got a partially torn ACL. So Presti even said in his press conference, we probably won't see him this year. So we'll see, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he sees some
Okay.
playmaking stuff in there, like he saw with Manu Ginobili back in 1999.
So good. Did I see Luca did not make the Olympics?
I didn't hear. So you said Slovenia did not make it? What you're saying?
I think they got beat.
Okay.
By Greece, maybe. By Giannis and.
But yeah, I saw that Greece is in.
Yeah, I think they got beat by
I'm
Greece.
excited about these Olympics, man.
I don't know if it was because of the COVIDs or what, but last time it just wasn't. I just never could get in it.
Okay.
Maybe it's because people weren't there and you just didn't get the vibe. But dude, like the last couple of weeks when they had swimming finals, the swimming US trials and the track and field trials, we were locked in as a family. It was like watching every event, watching diving, back to the just stuff that you only watch when you watch the Olympics.
Yeah, those are Olympic sports, straight up Olympic sports.
Dude, I'm really, really excited. And
I love the way the world has been progressing in the sport of basketball. You look at Canada, right, with Jamal Murray and Shea, Lou Dort, Nikhil Alexander-Walker. They've got Kelly Olynyk. You look at Serbia with Jokic and Nikola Jovic. They're just talent all over Australia with Giddey and Dante Exum and all those guys. Ben Simmons, if he actually wanted to play basketball. So there's just talent all over France.
Real quick, I got to ask the Ben Simmons question. Is he playing in the Olympics?
You know what? I don't think so. I haven't heard about it.
His back hurts.
I don't. Yeah, that dude.
Biggest
we can spend an entire episode on him.
Yeah, let's not.
You're talking about a 6'10" ball handling elite defensive player. By the way, I just want to say that 6'10" elite defender and a great passer and a great ball handler. He just doesn't want to play. Anyway, Australia's got a good team.
Listen, you know what? Here's the problem. Yes, he doesn't want to play. 100%. He's a baby. Like, I don't even know what else to say. He's an overpaid baby. He got overpaid, and he just doesn't care. That's number one. Number two, at the end of the day, he's a basketball player, and if you can't shoot, you cannot be a great basketball player. And he cannot shoot. He can't shoot.
Can he not shoot? He doesn't even do it. We don't know if he can shoot. Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. It's still basketball, though. Am I right?
Yeah.
Come on. It's a very easy game. You shoot the ball in the basket. Like, the better players are good shooters, and the worst players aren't. All the other things are awesome. Like, awesome. But dude cannot shoot. And if you can't shoot, you can't be a good basketball. I'm sorry.
Though, right? He was really good. He's an all-star level player, despite not being a great shooter. He passed up a layup.
Was he an all-star level player, or was his potential all-star level?
Well, okay, let me
was
say
it the thought of Ben Simmons all-star level?
Let me say this. He's at least an all-defensive level player.
Okay. I'll give you that.
Right?
Sure.
He's an all-NBA defensive player, and he's a great passer. He's a guy that could average close to 10 rebounds a game and 10 assists a game. He just refuses to shoot. That playoff game for Philly, he had a dunk and passed it to a teammate. That's how scared he was to try to make a play in that game.
You've never seen anything like it in your life. You've never seen anything like it in your life.
No.
A player at that level that just refuses to shoot the basketball. Yeah. It's those guys in high school are great. Every high school team needs that guy. But in the NBA, you better be able to shoot the ball. Like, it's
at least throw it up there.
Or at least dunk it. At least dunk it. When you're 6'10", go dunk it.
6'10", yeah, and athletic. France is going to be interesting too. Wembanyama, of course. I think he's going to be amazing.
Is Tony Parker coming out of retirement to play with him?
I don't think so.
That would be awesome.
I don't know if it would be. I mean, in theory, it's awesome.
I think Tony Parker's game would not have changed at all. I don't know when the last time Tony Parker played. Like what, 2016? Was that the last time Tony Parker?
Around there.
I bet his game's exactly the same. That dude played old man basketball back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
He was smooth.
He was so fast,
he was below the rim, but man, he was a good. Oh my gosh, I love those Spurs teams.
Real quick, the France roster, they've got some NBA guys.
Okay, I'm ready.
On there. Give me 1 second. Obviously, we know Wembanyama. We've got who's our guy from Minnesota? Rudy Gobert.
Yeah. I mean, that's
And
pretty good front line.
yeah, Nicholas Batum, Evan Fournier, Bilal Coulibaly, who was a rookie for the Wizards last year. So I mean, those are all the NBA guys. So again, decent team. I don't think they're good enough to beat USA unless Wemby just goes nuts. And remember, though, the interesting thing is in international play, you can stand in front of the rim. There's no 3-second violation on defense. It's like college. So
And
Wemby can just sit in front of the basket.
And you can goaltend when it's up on the rim, right?
If it's on the rim, you can take it off the rim. Correct.
You can take it off the rim. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see the picture of, speaking of the Texas Longhorns and your boy? We're not going to do this. Is not a Kevin Durant rant. Trust me, I'm not going that way. But did you see the picture of the U.S. Olympic team? And they're showing like Kevin Durant.
I did.
And he's every bit as tall as Anthony Davis and who's the other center?
Oh,
Joel Embiid.
He was towering over Anthony Davis. It was wild. He was just a little bit shorter than Embiid.
That was crazy, right? I mean, was he on his tippy toes just being funny or what?
I don't know.
He's not that tall. He's not as tall as Anthony Davis, is he?
He's taller than that. I mean, at least in that picture, he looked taller. I think they're both listed at 6. I think Davis is listed at 6'10", and I've seen Durant listed anywhere between 6'10", 6'11".
He looked every bit of 7 foot in that picture.
Yeah.
He looked every bit of 7 foot in that picture. That was a weird picture. Other notes in the NBA, controversial writer, Jason Whitlock, makes a claim. All right. This is Jason Whitlock. He claims LeBron has turned his son Bronny into a Make-A-Wish kid and has the NBA media pandering to him. Do you believe that LeBron James has turned Bronny into a Make-A-Wish kid and that this is just fulfilling? What do you think about that? What do you think about that statement?
I mean, that's a bit over the top, right? I don't know, man. Now, I don't know. It's Whitlock, so the dude just says anything, right? With Bronny, man, I don't know. Thankfully, it was a 55th pick. Who cares? He's
got a guaranteed contract. He has a guaranteed contract,
which is not unprecedented. We've seen second round guys get guaranteed contracts. It is rare. It is rare. I don't know, man. He's going to be in the G League. He'll be in the G League.
He's in the NBA. He will play. He will get NBA minutes.
He will. He will get a few NBA minutes. But I mean, I think primarily if he wants to play and really develop, I think he'll be doing so in the G League. He's an interesting guy, right? He's 6'1.5". He's got a 6'7" wingspan.
Can't shoot.
He's not a shooter. Although in the combine thing, he did show some shooting potential.
Dude,
I don't know.
We talked about this. I'm 6'1". You give me when I was 21 years old, you give me nobody guarded me from the 3-point line. I looked like a shooter. I mean, come on.
Okay.
Dudes that can shoot can shoot.
I'm not saying it's going to translate to the games. I don't know what to expect from him. Yeah, it's all weird, man. We'll see how it unfolds. I feel bad for Bronny, right? Because people are going to take this out on him. And,
I think there's
fans are going to be hard.
Honestly, I think there's an element of that. I think that it's fair to say that I don't think LeBron is setting him up to succeed.
Yeah, I don't think that's unfair.
I really don't. I don't think LeBron's setting up to succeed. And what I mean by succeed is be recognized for his own accomplishments when he accomplishes those things. Because here's the problem now, right? Even if Bronny was to go really develop, and maybe not this year, but next year, I don't know. What if he averaged like 10 points a game in the NBA? I mean, it's pretty respectable for a second-round draft pick, right? But if he was to do that, people would be like, yeah, I know, but LeBron drafted him. I mean, that's the only reason he's doing it.
Yeah.
Like, he at this point, Bronny can't almost do anything. He almost can't do anything right,
Yeah,
so,
which is why I feel for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're spot on there. Because from everything I've heard, I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about him as a kid.
No.
Right? So, yeah. I don't know. I wish him well. I'm rooting for him.
All right. What else you got in the sports world? Anything else we need to hit on?
That's it, man. We're just getting closer and closer to college football, man. It's
Well, Kevin and I
NFL
will.
training camps are starting good soon, so it's happening, man.
Hey, real quick, I don't think we talked about this last time. Did you watch the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders? What'd you think?
It was really good, man. It was
Yeah.
really good. I really enjoyed it. We actually binged it. I ran an errand and came back, and she had already started it. So I sat down and watched whatever episode. I think she might have been on. I don't know if she was on one or two, but I watched that one and all the rest of them.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was really well done. Some great stories there.
So a lot of that was similar to how they did it on the one that ran for all those years. Um, uh, it was the formula was similar in the early ones, but once they kind of got going, it was very much a Netflix kind of show. Um, Very rarely did the original show get as deep into personal lives, and definitely not to the level of um, real issues that the cheerleaders were experiencing. Like that really wouldn't have ever been the case that Netflix does. So that was really, I don't know, I thought it was really well done.
Me too. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. And you heard that, I don't know, do I want to give a spoiler out? Victoria said she was going to go in the next, spoiler alert, pause it for the next 15 seconds. You heard Victoria at the end say she was going to come back and try again.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't. She didn't. She called it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Let Casey know. She called it. I think she
I
needed
will.
to, though, man. Her mental health was a struggle bus.
It was, man. It was bad. It was
Yeah.
bad. She's got to find something else because she seemed like she was really struggling throughout. It was almost hard to watch.
You know what they say, though, and I think it's really true about stuff. We're getting a little meta here, but that's okay. What they say is if you've got goals in mind, right? And goals and accomplishments and targets and dreams are what makes life worth living, right? The pursuit of those things and the accomplishment of those things and all of that stuff, right? That's why we're all in it. You and I, we want this Boomer Bevo podcast to be really, really good someday. Well, it's really, really good now, but really, bigger than it even is now. That would be amazing, right? That would be a dream, to continue to be able to do this. We have fun doing it. It's a lot of fun. But for her, she's a perfect example of if you're not happy before you achieve your dream, like if you're not happy in the current state of your life as it is now, going to achieve that dream it doesn't guarantee happiness. It doesn't guarantee contentment or strong mental health. You know what I'm saying?
Not at all.
In fact, a lot of times, and I think you saw it with her, you can experience the accomplishment and realize, well, crap, my life didn't change at all. It's still miserable. I'm still in a really weird spot. So it's just weird to think that's, you don't think about the depth of that with cheerleaders and stuff, but that was pretty fascinating. That was pretty good show.
just like athletes, right? Especially with her, because she was the one that her mom did it, right?
Yeah.
She grew up, so it's tough. I imagine a lot of athletes go through that who have famous or just parents who played professional sports or achieved athleticism at the highest level.
Absolutely. I thought it was good. Check it out on
Netflix. There's nothing higher. So no, I really enjoyed watching it. It was interesting, kind of like with players, right? It's hard to see the players as people.
Yeah.
The same thing with you see them just as the cheerleaders. So it's kind of seeing what their life is like was nice insight. So they did a good job.
Isn't it crazy that all the other jobs they work?
Yeah.
Like that some of them are nurses and dentists and like full-time positions, and then they go and work there. I don't know. It's really good.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Kevin, yes. So next week, guys, we'll do a recap of SEC Media Days. We'll talk about what Sark talked about and BV talked about and the players, and get some tidbits on what the other schools are thinking about when it comes to playing OU in Texas. It is getting real. It is getting real fast. And this summer is only going to get more exciting as we get closer to kickoff. Kevin, have a great afternoon. Boomer!
Hook 'em.